What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lombardi Time Brews Live. I'm your host, John Del Rey, coming to you live from my Kia. Hanging out here in Titletown, another warm day, deciding to hop on here, talk to you fine folks about everything that happened at Packers training camp. This is public day 14, and really what that means, only 2 more days to go for these public practices. That's it. Next Tuesday and next Thursday. Next Tuesday, of which just got shifted to being an afternoon practice, so we all can be more sun-drenched. Thanks for that, Matthew LaFleur. And then next Thursday is the joint practice, Packers not versus really, but Packers with Ravens next week Thursday for the final public training camp practice, and then this all comes to a close. So today, I'm going to take you through what happened now at public day 14 and give you a little flavor as to what this practice was all about. So to start off, I see Will is here. What's up, Will? You do finally get to see a live. For those that don't know, Will is a fantastic resource for me. He's one of the Packers guest services people. He's become a friend who is great to see every day. Thanks so much for being here, Will. So let me take you through what I saw on the day. First of all, injuries. Carrington Valentine, he came back. Just a limited capacity. He did spend some time inside the Don Hudson as he's continuing to work his way back from a hamstring injury, but was in pads, didn't really do 11 on 11. Still very, very encouraging to see him back with still a good chunk of camp remaining. Not that I necessarily expect him to challenge for corner 2. Still, though, very, very important depth piece for Green Bay. Good to have him back. Then Edrin Cooper continued to be out. Same with Keyshawn Banks. And then Tucker Kraft, in terms of another return. He actually made his way back into an 11 on 11s today. Really the first action we've seen from him in that regard. Did make some nice physical catches as well. So really good to see Tucker Kraft work his way back in as well. Then on the transaction front, there were 2 coming into this morning. I know you saw in probably news break last night that the Packers were bringing in some guys, but of course, for every tit there is a tat, and the releases had to come, and those did inevitably come this morning. So signed was Nate McCrary, a running back. Saginaw Valley State was his college background, spent some time in the UFL. Previously, he's spent a little bit of time with the Packers, even in the NFL. So he's back. And then also linebacker Chris Russell, Edrin Cooper's former teammate at Texas A&M. So they bring in a linebacker. Both of those signings make a world of sense to help cover for injuries while Marshawn Lloyd, Edrin Cooper, Hopper's even still a little hobbled yet. So they've just got a myriad of injuries between running back and linebacker. Bringing in 2 reinforcements for the rest of the camp makes a lot of sense. As for the 2 cuts, one of them was safety Tyler Coyle. He's been let go, as well as long snapper Peter Bowden out of the University of Wisconsin. Not really shocking. I spent some real time yesterday because they've shifted things around, and special teams is now right in front of where I sit every day. It is not surprising that Matt Orzik is the last long snapper left standing. Everything that he does, I know Orzik was pretty inconsistent last year, but nonetheless, everything that Orzik does was so much faster than the UDFA out of Wisconsin. It became throughout the last couple of days pretty apparent that even for the inconsistencies that Orzik presents, Orzik was going to get the job. So moving on from Bowden at this juncture makes sense. So there you go. And then in terms of the starting lineup today, it was for basically the first time in camp, a 100% absolutely positively typical starting lineup. Love, Jacobs, Dobbs, Watson, Reed, Musgrave, and then on the line, Walker, Jenkins, Myers, Ryan, and Tom. Defensively, Smith, Slayton, Clark, and Gary, McDuffie, and Quay at linebacker, since Quay was back from cramping up yesterday. And then Jair, Nixon, Stokes, Bullard, and X. Bullard getting another day's worth of starting next to X. Really seems like Anthony Johnson Jr., Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, they're all going to be used. They're all going to have roles. But it seems pretty definitive at this juncture that those first string snaps, the first one up every day, is going to be Javon Bullard. Now, Evan Williams has made a whole bunch of plays. He seems to continue to be around the ball. Bullard has had a couple of coverage lapses here or there, including one that I detailed yesterday. Looked as though he might have had another today. But his speed, I've noted his foot speed in earlier videos. It is incredibly apparent. How he gets to the ball is also just pretty remarkable, something we haven't seen from a lot of safeties in the last half decade in Green Bay. So it makes all the sense in the world for Bullard to get those first snaps. And it really seems like that is what is going to happen. He's officially going to get the start. Then just for some raw data for you before I get to the stream of plays to give you a flavor of how offense versus defense went today. Kicking. This Hale struggle bust yesterday. And today, Carlson and Joseph, it was their turn. The struggle bus ran him over. It wasn't an awful day, but certainly not good enough. So Carlson ultimately on the day today went 4 for 6. He missed from 41 wide right, and then he also missed from 55. And I got to tell you, it's like he missed every single way from 55. Granted, 55, a very, very long field goal, right? But this, it's like it left his foot. And I've talked a lot in the last couple of weeks about how I don't know what in the heck is going on with his technique. He's not ripping the ball anymore. It's every single thing is like a short kick. That 55-yarder today, it went up, and then it was a good 10 yards short. It also was off to the right. I genuinely, as most of the people around me were perplexed. Like it just must have been a miss-hit. Very bad miss from 55 for Carlson. But then on the flip side, so Carlson ends 4 of 6. On the flip side, Joseph winds up ending 3 for 6. An even worse day for Joseph. He did hit an extra point, and he also hit from 41 and 46, but he missed wide left from 45, wide left from 55, and then wide right from 50. So ultimately, if you're keeping track at home, we're looking at Carlson being 48 of 60 to this point, and Joseph being 50 of 60 to this point. Hale like 10 of 15. And then there was also one kick for Joseph. Maybe if you read other summaries of camp and stuff, they'll give Joseph a miss for this. I don't know. I didn't really care. But they were rushing at the end of the 2-minute drill. They wanted to get a kickoff. The poor equipment manager, if you've ever been here at camp, you know that equipment manager, the guy who like drags around the goalposts and everything all by himself, he is not a spring chicken. Well, he didn't get the goalpost there in time. Joseph kicked it anyway. The refs marked it a miss, but there was no goalpost, so it was just kind of a miss. Maybe others will credit with a miss. I'm not going to hold that one against him. So then your try again another days. I got to go with Jordan Love and the kickers because Jordan Love was just very inconsistent today. Some not great habits emerged in the second half. And then the player of the day, Dontavian Wicks, who hauled in 2 red zone touchdowns. Packers did limited red zone work today, but Wicks seemingly hauled in 2 from within 10 yards. So just to give you a feel for how offense versus defense wins. By the way, I want to say this too. I understand yesterday as I was broadcasting from my car that there was a click in the microphone, something like that. Like I've heard it on playback now. When I'm live, I don't know this stuff, and the sound check went fine. So if there's a click today, just let me know. I'll unplug something and plug it back in. We'll figure it out. But I can't know that when I'm live, so help me out. All right, so then just to give you a feel for the stream of plays, the biggest plays today were definitely the 2 touchdowns to Wicks in the red zone. But then also there were back-to-back interceptions on Jordan Love. One was just directly tipped up by Isaiah McDuffie, and then Quay Walker caught it. It was very much like a volleyball set for McDuffie into Quay. Not the greatest decision from Jordan on that throw. I wasn't even entirely sure where he was going. I think he was trying to get to an over route, and it was not the same, not quite the same like deepness, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So it was tipped up, wound up being. Then we had another interception, which is just a great play by Jair. Love evaded pressure, tried to no-look the pass, basically. Instead, Jair is the one that came away with it. Jair really did hop the route. Very, very good play by Jair, though. So those were the back-to-back interceptions. So, Will, small clicks here and there, but nothing like yesterday's. Oh, thank you, Will. Really appreciate it. And glad the clicks aren't so problematic today. Oh, let's see what Peter's got to say. Peter, bonjour, Jean. JJ McCarthy is out for the season. Too bad for that kid. I feel sad for Paul Farrington and his mates. The fact show that the Vikings fans are all good guys. Yeah, I did see a little bit of that. I haven't dove into it fully. I don't mind the Vikings being awful, right? I'll say that. But yeah, to lose your first round QB, especially when all the reports over the last couple of days have been like, yeah, maybe he'll miss 6 weeks. Maybe he'll miss the first Packer game in week 4, etc. But then to get the news today that your first round QB's out for the whole year, not that the Vikings were going to do a ton this year anyway, but yeah, that sucks. That just sucks. So hard out to them. All right, so then to get to our stream of plays here, just again, these are not necessarily sequential. These are just plays that I caught to give you a flavor. Pratt on the play action rollout to Wilson, gain a few yards. One thing I will say as an aside here, Michael Pratt on the play action rollouts, those happen to be one of the strengths of his game. I've detailed before how Michael Pratt in college was always a below average in terms of time to throw, also below average in pressures to sack. That is one of the knocks on Pratt. Is he's slow to get the ball out. Play action rollouts kind of jive with that pretty well because then he's got time, right? Well, today, another example. This is back-to-back days that Pratt has rolled out and hit someone really, really well. Today it was Joel Wilson, gain a few yards. Also, I will say, too, since it's relevant right now, Sean Clifford pretty much got the twos today. Matt LaFleur mentioned in his press conference. I know Pratt got some two work yesterday. Well, Clifford back to the twos yesterday. It also sounds like Clifford's going to get the first snaps in the preseason game against Denver. So there you have it. Then another play, Dillon run to the outside, few yards. Then Pratt to Melton, incomplete. Could have been, should have been for Bo is what I wrote here. However, excellent coverage by King. Then Love draw to Jacobs, gain a few yards. Love to Reed, incomplete. And this was just looked like a straight up miscommunication between the quarterback and his young receiver. Looked like Love was throwing the under, Reed was running the over. And the ball just kind of plopped in the middle, so incomplete there. Then Love to Musgrave, few over the middle. Love, keeper, juke, first down for Jordan Love. Then this is the interception. Love tipped up by McDuffie, interception by Walker. Then Love absolutely blind sling to the corner. That's the interception for Jair that I detailed. And then Love has all the time in the world, checks down to Jacobs, dropped. And that is what prompted a older gentleman in the stands next to me to go, that wasn't a $55 million throw. Then we also had Clifford to Hicks over the middle. Hicks has had a nice camp, but there's just too many receivers in front of him is ultimately what I put there. Then Clifford outside run for Emmanuel Wilson, gain of couple. Clifford scramble, couple yards. Clifford's doing his scramble thing. Clifford to check down to Merriweather for a few. Run for Merriweather for a couple then Clifford to Wilson, incomplete. Wilson straight up slipped. Then Prant slant to Bo for 15 yards. If you're looking for more details about Clifford versus Pratt and the quarterback to race or competition, whatever we want to call it at this point, Pratt looks, as I've been saying, just so much more in control. But yes, things are slower. Sean Clifford's best work today, and it wasn't particularly close, came in the 2-minute drill. Like, that is when it truly looked good. And it makes sense, right? I've talked how, like, Sean Clifford is so frantic. He's like a middle school, like, Madden player. If there's any pressure at all, the man is just looking to get something. And then if he gets 2 yards on a scramble, it's like this massive success, right? And the rest is just this sloppy play. When you get to 2 minutes, almost like Jordan Love in the beginning part of last year, good Lord, people, in the beginning of last year, like, it's like hurry up works better because then there's less thinking time. It's more reacting time. Sometimes that works really well for young quarterbacks. And 2-minute drill today looked like that for Sean Clifford. He was able to drop back. And then once the play was done, get everyone back up to the line, get another snap going. It just seemed to make sense. So maybe they need to lay into that more from a play calling perspective. But the question is, how viable is that to plan on your backup really only being viable in 2-minute situations or in hurry up situations? How consistent can you be with that? So it is a worthwhile question when evaluating Sean Clifford. All right, so then before I get to 2-minute and red zone, I will give you all the one-on-ones because they did a buttload of one-on-ones for offensive line and defensive line today, and I had a front row view with those. Can't ever see corners wideouts, but boy, I got the big boys for you. Let's see what we got here. David saying, it seems like nobody wants the kicking job. You know, it's like, to this point, the only thing that really separated Joseph and Anders was one bad day by Anders, right? The 3 missed day, about to be about a week and a half ago at this point. And that truly, even statistically, they were apart by 3. Anders missed 3 that day. Like, that's been it. However, Joseph in these days has just not been able to completely take advantage. And then even today, Joseph drops an egg, going only 3 of 6. Now, even at this point, I think there's still something like in the mid-80s percentage-wise for Joseph. I'd have to redo the math. But yeah, Joseph 50 of 60, Carlson 48 of 60. So Carlson like low 80s, Joseph mid. It's just, as I talked about in my 53-man roster prediction, everything with Joseph right now No, he's not the most accurate kicker in the world, but it actually looks comfortable. Carlson is doing this short stick approach that I just can't figure out. It's like he's pulling up everything short. Whereas the Anders Carlson of last year, when he actually followed through on his kicks, had consistency issues, but hitting from 50 was never really that much of a problem. In fact, he had lots of room to spare on these kicks last year. So it feels like the opportunity is ripe for Joseph to take control of the job here, and he's just not. And eventually the question's got to be raised of, is it going to be one of these two? Because I don't think it's going to be Hale. So does that mean they're going to go out and get a different external candidate? Time is beginning to tick in that regard. So ultimately, I still got to think the Packers probably would love Anders to figure it out and just give the job to Anders. Practically, I think Joseph is ahead right now. In reality, maybe it's none of them. But one of them's got to take advantage soon. Jim H. saying the kicker situation is scary. It is. Dale saying on Carlson, and I don't want to like overstate this. They are still kicking in about the mid 80s percentage-wise. But training camp should be the easiest kicks you got, right? Like this isn't Lambeau with swirling winds when it's 12 degrees. This is way too freaking hot, 85 and 90 with not a cloud in the sky or the occasional windy day. Like, so we want to see really, really high percentages here. We want to see above career average percentages. And to this point, we're just not consistently. So Dale saying on Carlson, I was at the really windy practice day last week. It was like he was not driving the ball as well as Joseph. Yes, Dale, exactly. And that one day, I know exactly which one you're talking about. That was that was a well-warranted difficult day for kickers, right? You wouldn't expect kickers to be tremendous in these swirling high winds, right? But that's kind of the point I'm saying is like, there's just no drive on Carlson's kick now. And I think it's intentional. I think it's a technique thing because he's also not following through with his leg as much. He's not stepping as far back as he used to either. I think it's intentional in an effort to get more accuracy or more like arc on the ball as opposed to straightforward drive. Maybe they're thinking that will straighten it out for him. But whereas Joseph is just ripping. So it is a very frustrating battle to watch right now. I think Joseph ultimately takes the job. I think the Packers really, really want Anders for the job. And if it is still close, they'll give it to Anders. But that kick from 55 today was very, very concerning. Peter saying our kicking savior used to wear number 2, no debate. Yeah, well, Joseph does now. Ayahuasca Data saying, what's up, man? Keep on chugging, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it. David saying Clifford is used to being behind in games. That's why he's good under pressure. Possible. Yeah, I mean, that is possible. And I think it's just a lot of young QBs function better when they're not thinking as much, when they speed up their internal clock and just get go. Just throw to the open, dude. Stop worrying. And maybe that's where Clifford is right now. Peter saying Joseph's kicks versus Cleveland were right down the middle. Yeah. And that's been the thing with Joseph, even throughout the entirety of his career. That's been the thing with Joseph. I mean, last year was probably his career best year for Minnesota. But ultimately, throughout his career, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but he is somewhere mid-low 80s in terms of his career percentage. Over the course of Greg Joseph's entire career, it basically is what Anders Carlson did last year. So, I don't know. I'm out of words on the kicking battle. Like, we've explored it. This is what it is at this juncture. You just got to hope someone's going to take advantage of it real soon. Peter saying, my guess is that by the end of October, QB1, Love, QB2, Tannehill, QB3, Pratt. Thoughts? No. I don't want to be overly simplistic or dismissive, Peter, but I would just say I don't see Tannehill taking any kind like Tannehill is going to want to go somewhere where there's some kind of QB battle, somewhere where sure he's going to be a backup, but he's going to be a backup getting $7 million or something to that effect. And that is not going to be Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to want to continue to roll out with one of their young developmental QBs who just would survive if something happens to Love. That's what I see happen. Grumpy, what's up, Grumpy? Can you see any way a UDFA makes the roster this year? It's real tough. You know, I was saying that Donovan Jennings is going to make the team, especially because they're a little deficient on the interior line. And then his knee injury has really sidetracked that for him. He's only gotten to practice in full a few days out of the 14. And in those couple, he very much looked like a UDFA who's transferring to a new position. Because keep in mind, in college, he was a tackle. Now he's trying guard. Like he already had a lot of work to do. And now he hasn't even gotten to do that. So it's going to be a very, very tall order for him. Julian Hicks is probably the best of the UDFA receivers. Dimitri Stanley's done some nice stuff, but Hicks has been more consistent. But still, there's way too many receivers. Esther on the defensive line, nope. He's too far down the depth chart. Raylan go fourth. Nope, too far down the depth chart at linebacker. Yeah, Bowden probably stood the best shot if he could have beat out Orzik. So this may be the year that the streak snaps for UDFA's making the roster. Jonathan, what's up? I root for the guy named Hale, even though he spells his name wrong. Yeah. Well, then yesterday was a rough day for your campaign. I am very sorry. David Carlson was 78% in college. He's not improved. It could be a ceiling. Yes, that is accurate. The only thing that I would say is take a look. I mean, year over year, Carlson did have very different stats in college, right? Like there was one year, I haven't looked at his full resume in a while. I want to say it was 2021. One of those years, he was exceptional and well above that average. And then he also had two rather large injuries in college as well. So like going over the full scope of Carlson's career, like his college career was very, very up and down. It just wound up at that 78% average. But I mean, yeah, it is true. Jim H. Tannehill to the Vikings. Yeah, that now, sure. I could see that now, especially if Darnold struggles at all. It's got 7 wide receivers. It's like you can see a path to it, right? But back when they used to do that with more regularity, they also didn't keep 4 tight ends. Or some of those years, they didn't even keep 3 running backs or 10 offensive linemen. To keep 7 wide receivers now means that you might do that thing where you switch around and only keep 2 running backs like we've seen Goot do. Which, I don't know, that means you're probably putting Marshawn Lloyd on something like Pup or you're cutting A.J. Dillon. Not sure they're going to want to do either of that. Or it means you're probably only going to keep 9 offensive linemen, which would very much go against the post-COVID roster-making construction from Gutekunst and LaFleur in a year where offensive line depth is maybe more of a question than it's been. Or to do that, you got to keep only 3 tight ends. And if Tyler Davis is going to be your move tight end like Josiah DeGuara and be your team's guy, well, then you're going to get rid of Sims. See what I mean? Like something's got to give. And so I think what we're going to see, my guess as of right now, is 6 wide receivers kept. Malik Heath going to the practice squad because he's the one that's most likely can get to the practice squad. He doesn't have the draft pedigree. He's only got like 12 catches last year or something like that. A lot of teams feel like they've got a Malik Heath, right? Whereas Dubose, if he balls out in 2 more preseason games and puts some more stats on tape, someone may like him. Someone like a Carolina, someone that needs wide receivers, may like him as a project. And then you also got Bo, who I think is a pretty good candidate to get claimed if they were to let him go, and I think they really don't want to. So, yeah, a lot going on there. I still think 7 wide receivers is a bit outside what they're going to be able to do. Chris saying, what's up, Chris? Hey, John, sorry I'm late on info, but Wilson looked good, you think, in terms of Emmanuel? Yeah, he did look good in the preseason game. He's been the second most consistent running back here day in and day out behind Josh Jacobs. I still think he's running back 4. And the reason for that is because running back 3 is A.J. Dillon. And Dillon is probably the best in pass pro on the team. And that alone will get you a job, especially with them having Dillon do more like protectors in the new kickoff stuff. So that will get you a job. And I think Dillon is pretty secure that way. That leaves Emmanuel Wilson kind of in the Patrick Taylor role of like, we like you. We want to keep you around. We cannot give you a full-blown roster spot every week. So stay on the practice squad. Keep your phone close. We'll get you action sometime. That's kind of the path I still see for Emmanuel Wilson. All right, one-on-ones. Again, I want to give you one-on-ones. I can report on it better than anybody else, as I sit right there. So I'm going to give you the full thing. We got Preston Smith versus Rasheed Walker. Walker gets the win. Wyatt versus Elton Jenkins. Wyatt got that win. Slayton versus Myers. That one goes to Myers. Kenny Clark against Sean Ryan. That one goes to Kenny Clark. Gary versus Dillard. Dillard today looked better. A lot better, especially in one-on-ones. Overall, his play has been trending upward since I called for him not to make the roster. Now all of a sudden he's better. Happy to be proven an idiot on that one, Dillard. And he held off Rashawn Gary today, which Rashawn Gary has lost, I think, maybe 2 reps throughout all of camp in one-on-ones, this being one of them. So it was impressive. Then you had Caleb Jones against LVN. Jones won that one, just too dang long for LVN to get around. Leckett Smith against Carl Brooks. Smith won that one. Smith continues to be my one-on-one warrior. I don't think the Packers love him in a line, but one-on-ones, Leckett, he does good things. Monk against Ford. Monk won both of those. Newman against Wooden. Newton gets the win. Kingsley Enagbari against Telford. Enagbari the win on that one. Dillard versus Mosby. Dillard the win. Glover versus Cox. Glover the win on that one. Tenuta versus Waiga. Tenuta the win. Leckett versus Esther. Leckett gets the win. Then Sean Ryan at center. They put him at center for this one-on-one against Waiga. It was just kind of a mess. Like, I know Sean Ryan is quite possibly going to be center 2. He's competing for right guard 1. I get it. I like all that kind of stuff. Today, though, like this one-on-one snap in particular, it was a bad snap, and then Waiga like caught him off footing from a bad snap. It was just a disaster for Sean Ryan, so Waiga gets the win. Then we had Wooden against Tenuta. Wooden gets the win. Deslin Alexander against Glover. Glover gets the win. Allen against Walker. Allen gets the win. Brooks against Leckett. Leckett the win. Esther versus Newman. Newman gets the win. Cox versus Telford. Telford the win. Then we had Alexander against Caleb Jones. Alexander gets the win on that one. This is Jones' struggle. Jones, when he has to get to a second level, he's lumbering. His other thing on the line in pass pro, where his struggle is if he doesn't get these gigantic mitts on him, he generally doesn't win. And on this particular rep against Alexander, it's like he was playing left tackle and he kicked out, but his kick out took him way too far. Like his stride was way too big. And then Deslin was like, okay, and just ran right through Caleb Jones because they didn't line up. Yeah, that was not a good rep for Caleb Jones. That one looked rough. And then let's see, Morton versus Telford. Morton, the new guy, Telford getting the win. Then just to give you, before we jump on out of here, let's go to, this is the 2-minute drill. This will be the last thing I cover, giving the idea of practice today, but the 2-minute drill. So minute 40 left on the clock. They were down 7, ball in the 40s. The offense has got to drive 60 yards or at least put them in a position to get something done. So first snap, Love curl to Dobbs, few yards. Then Love Jacobs for the check down. Again, gain a few. However, Jaden Reed was streaking open. Oh my goodness, was he open. Love, however, did not see Jaden Reed. Hit the check down to Jacobs. Would have been a touchdown for Reed. And then the next play, Love to Jacobs for a few, goes out of bounds, stops the clock. 1 minute, 1 to go. Love then to Musgrave, corner route for Musgrave, gain of 15 yards. Then Love, incomplete into the dirt for Josh Jacobs. Then Love curl to Watson, first down. Then Love to Watson, incomplete. Questionable no call from the referees. Ref trying to give him a real game situation there because from where I was sitting, it certainly looked like PI. Then you got your second down on the 25. Love to Musgrave, hook for a few yards, then Love to slant for Wicks, gain of about 10, gets him up to about the 10-yard line. But then the clock ran out, and the defense won the day. Overall, we had drops today by Samari Toure. He only had 1. Josh Jacobs had 1 as well on a check down. There was a breakup by Jair, and then we had a couple of sacks. However, I didn't get jersey numbers on those. And then interceptions for McDuffie and Walker combining for 1, and then Jair 1 as well. Bam! There you go. Ayahuasca Sam, best pizza in GB. Honestly, no idea. I don't live in GB. I got to travel here every day for this. So if you're ever looking for Sheboygan, I got you. But yeah, I don't know. I don't go to eat often in GB. All right, everybody. Time for me to jump on out of here. Thank you so much for joining me here. Next public practice is Tuesday. Now, I'll put out something on I don't want to say for sure. I'll probably put something out like on Friday after taking the day tomorrow. And then we got the preseason game this weekend against Denver. And then we're into next week. Tuesday, Thursday, the public practices next week. You will absolutely, assuredly hear from me on those days. And then also don't forget on the 27th, August 27th, a joint show, me and Wisco Fanatics going live at 2:45, 3 o'clock in that range. The deadline for cuts to come in. We're going to react to all the cuts together live, talk about a roundtable style, biggest surprises, etc. Really, really looking forward to that show. And then also the preseason game against Baltimore, the final preseason game. Claudia and I make our watch party return. We're going to go live for a watch party for the first half of Packers versus Ravens. Hopefully the starters will play a little bit, but time to get back into the swing of things. Claudia and I will be there for you for the watch party for Packers versus Ravens. So some big things coming up. Very much looking forward to next Tuesday, Thursday. I'll probably put in some filler shows in between now and then talking about the state of the roster before that as well. Will, what's your favorite post-practice meal? Right now, these days, man, protein bar. That's it. So it is time for me to hit the road, go see my son, and go get on with the rest of my day once practice is done. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Do hope you have a fantastic day. And as always, go Pack Go.